Hello there and welcome. As always, this is Free Russian Speaking, or you can call me Mikhail or Michael. Now, before the video starts, I want to say thank you all who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. Thank you friends and have a blessed day. Now, today's video I will start with the general Toretsk direction and the breaking news that are coming in from this area. As you know, about a week ago, Russian forces started a new vector of attack through the village of Shumy in the general direction of Pivchine, Zalisne and Toretsk. And as a result of that, were able to advance rather significantly, not only capturing the vast area in between Russian positions and Ukrainian positions within the towns, but as well as being able to storm the very first houses and entrenched within the settlement. As both sides were engaged in heavy fighting within Pivchine town, Russian forces decided to go on a yet another surprise attack, attacking from Shumy as well as what would seem to be Gorlovka industrial zone. Russian forces attacked through the vast open area, cleared it and entered the town from this axis as well. Now if we zoom in, we can see that Syriac maps had not updated the map yet, the news are extremely fresh. However, a pro-Ukrainian map has. This was the situation of yesterday depicted by them, and this is the situation of today, with those territories coming in under Russian control. Here are some more pictures by other mappers who also depicted those territorial changes. And as you can see, judging by the fact that both Russians and Ukrainians plus some neutral sources confirmed this territorial gain, its probability is 100%. And the news of those territorial gains cannot be good for the Ukrainians. In my last video, which I posted 5 days ago, I speculated that this entire portion of the front will soon become a battlefield on which Ukrainians will suffer their most horrible defeat. And with the recent territorial change, the situation just became much worse for Ukrainians. They already, as you know, struggle to hold Russians near Chasiv Yar. Here, despite all of their attempts, Russian forces slowly but surely advance through their defenses. Absolutely the same can be said about northern Avdiivka frontline, on which too Russians continue their advance, with the city of New York now being also stormed by the Russians. Here too, Ukrainians counterattack with all of their abilities. However, if you've been watching news from this portion of the front, you would know that those counterattacks were highly unsuccessful. Now, as you can see, due to all those Ukrainian defensive capabilities are already at its maximum potential, and this new Russian attacks coming directly from the east is the worst scenario imaginable for the Ukrainian forces. Now, they will be forced to either relocate some of their troops already fighting in Avdiivka and Chasiv Yar, weakening even more already struggling and barely held defensive lines, or reinforce from elsewhere. Reinforcing from elsewhere, of course, is the best option for Ukrainians, as it will allow them not to touch any of already fighting units on this front. However, it will take some time for the reinforcements to come in. So again, it seems this front line will continue to develop and develop quite rapidly. Not moving far away, let's discuss recent Russian territorial advances near the city of Chasiv Yar, where as a result of successful offensive actions in the direction of the city itself, as well as towards Kalynivka and the canal that stands in between Russians and Ukrainians defending the city, Russian forces were able to successfully take control over those territories, forcing Ukrainians to retreat further on. On the interesting note, recent geolocated footage suggests that forward Russian positions had already been established in this general area, which would mean that the village of Kalynivka came in under full Russian control. For example, here on this picture, you can see how this situation is depicted by military summary channel. From Chasiv Yar, let's quickly discuss the situation in Vovchansk, as both Russians and Ukrainians continue to battle out for the control over the initiative, with quite mixed results. Here, Russians attack and defend against Ukrainian counterattacks, so both sides here are extremely active, not willing to give an inch without a proper fight. And as a result of such fighting, Ukrainian forces were able to retake those territories within the Vovchansk city. So as you can see so far, Ukrainians were able to take some territories back. However, like mentioned previously in the video, this isn't a one-way battle. Both Russians and Ukrainians are battling out hard. And that's why, despite all of this, the territorial changes here were so minimal. From Vovchansk, let's move all the way to Avdiivka front and discuss the situation here as well. After the fall of Nova Alexandrovka, Russian forces started to attack all across this front in attempt to immediately increase the buffer zone around recently captured village, as well as not allow Ukrainians to entrench on new positions. And as a result of such actions, captured those territories from the Ukrainian side, not only putting an extra field in front of Ukrainians and their own positions, but also inching ever closer to the village of Vozdvizhenka. Then let's go slightly to the south and discuss the situation around village of Sokil. Again, as you can see at this point in time, this map is still depicting Sokil as Ukrainian controlled, at least half of it. However, according to the recent news, Russians were able to fully capture the village and immediately moved on and start fighting for the villages of Yevgenika and Voshod. Yet again, this pro-Ukrainian map was rather fast on updating this. Here was the situation of yesterday, and here is the situation of today, with these territories coming in under Russian control. So as you can see, pro-Ukrainian side had acknowledged the fall of Sokil. From Avdiivka, let's move to Krasnohorivka and quickly discuss Russian territorial changes here as well. As you can see, the bigger portion of the city is already under Russian control, and as more and more territories Russians are capturing, the faster the rate of territories being captured is. For example, within the last 24 hours, Russian forces fought within the city, attacking in its center, as well as the eastern outskirts, in attempt to capture the hospital and link up their forces, encircling this entire high-raised buildings area. As you know, high-raised concrete buildings has been a problem for both sides. If well-manned and well-fortified, it can become a very serious obstacle for the offensive side, so going around it, encircling and not fighting within it is actually a great idea if that's what the Russians are going for. And this is how the territorial changes look so far. And then from here let's move towards Georgievka, after fall of which Russian forces continued fighting in the direction of Maksymilianivka, and as a result of successful offensive actions in this area, were able to capture this portion of the front from the Ukrainian side. So as you can see, not only Russians added more streets and houses to their already existing foothold within Maksymilianivka, but were also able to capture some territories in between Maksymilianivka and Georgievka. As you can see, by capturing those territories, Russians are trying to increase their buffer zone, as well as make this bottleneck much wider, so that they can safely reinforce their comrades already fighting within the village. From here, let's continue going to the south and let's discuss the situation that is currently developing around Novomikhailivka and Kostyantynivka. Here, after capturing the village of Paraskoveyevka, Russians decided not to go on the offensive towards Kostyantynivka just yet, and instead attacked on a wider front from Novomikhailivka to Pobeda in attempt to even out the front line, reach the 0532 highway, and thus solidify the front line in its entirety. So far, those were the territories that Russians captured within the last 24 hours. With this recent territorial change, Ukrainian positions located in this general area are now greatly compromised because Russians gained ability to attack to the flank as well as rear of Ukrainian formations defending this sector, and as you can see, if nothing is changed, Ukrainian forces will be forced to retreat, leaving Russians the control over the highway and taking defense at Kostyantynivka. So perhaps this is the scenario with which Russians will storm Kostyantynivka. With this, I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day and always remember, Russia will be free and great.